Okay, we're back, and right now we are going to be talking about uh, William Tecumseh Sherman's Special Field Order Number 15. Really important thing in U.S. history, especially within the context of the Civil War. So what we're going to see is that Sherman's March, which I had in another video, was a very, very successful campaign. If you don't know about Sherman's March, go ahead and watch that video, please. But this was a very successful campaign, destroys the morale, the industrial capacity of the South, the communication and transportation capacity of the South. This is awesome. But here's what we're going to see. As Sherman is marching through the South, everywhere he goes, now in the wake of that Emancipation Proclamation, slaves are being freed. So as Sherman goes, all these plantations, slaves are just flocking to them because the Southerners have fled before Sherman. They've abandoned their cities, they've abandoned their towns, and now the slaves are being liberated. And so everywhere he goes, they are following behind. So you've got Sherman's army and then an army of slaves who are following in his wake because they know that it's safe. They know that being close to Sherman means that Southerners are not going to be around. They're behind the army, so they're not in harm's way. And so Sherman's army does protect and provide for these newly freed slaves, but it's becoming increasingly difficult because of the sheer numbers. And so he has a little bit of a problem, right? Uh, and we've got some different goals, right? One, he wants to punish. That's his job, to punish the Southern landowners, to decrease morale, all that good stuff. Two, though, he needs to be able to ease his army's burden because the slaves following in his wake may, in many ways, be a drag on his resources for his men, slowing him down in some cases. And so, first, what are we going to do to kind of punish the South for their attitudes on slavery and prolonging this war? Second, how are we going to ease our burdens so that we can continue to effectively fight? And then third, how do we effectively settle all of these newly freed slaves in a way that is beneficial to them long term? So those are the three different goals that we're going to see. Well, Sherman, I don't know if he comes up with it, but he has a meeting with Secretary of War Stanton. And with the blessing of Lincoln, after 4 days after this meeting, he's going to issue Special Field Order Number 15. Now, this field order basically says we're going to take all of the land that has been confiscated. Right, so land from plantation owners who have abandoned it and where we have had to confiscate that lands, we're going to take it and we're going to redistribute it. So now you're not going to have these large plantation owners anymore. It's going to be distributed to African Americans, to these formerly enslaved people in plots of 40 acres. So that way, large plantations become small family farms, but it's large enough for them to be able to make a living, for them to be able to kind of make their own way, and to have something to start a new life with. Now, if you're settling these people, that means that the numbers, instead of growing in your wake, are kind of dwindling because you're giving them their own land. It also means that you're not on the hook in terms of responsibility for providing for them, and it would certainly meet the goal of punishing the South, right? Seeing African American communities pop up would definitely be something that they were not in favor of. But this is where we kind of hear that term you hear kind of thrown about 40 acres and a mule. That's where this kind of comes from. Now, Sherman did not ever offer a mule. That comes a little bit later on. But you get the idea, right? Now, this is going to be celebrated in the North. It's going to be celebrated in the South within the slave communities or the newly freed communities. And it is put into action. The problem is that Lincoln gets assassinated, and immediately after the Civil War, his vice president, Andrew Johnson, takes over. Now, Johnson is a Southern sympathizer. And unfortunately, very tragically, he rescinds the order. There were some legal challenges. There were some problems with that. Ending slavery is one thing, but confiscation of private property is another. And even though they were slave owners, and a lot of people say, "Well, that's what you get for that." The reality is that owning slaves, being a slave owner, was not illegal when they were doing it. While it may have been an ethical problem, right? While it certainly, and we look back at it today and we know that it was wrong, it it opens up a big floodgate for the government if they can punish people for being morally wrong if they were legally allowed to do so. Does that make sense? Right? I mean, um, if slavery was legal, then how can you punish people for being slave owners? Yes, it's ethically and morally wrong, but can you confiscate people's personal property for doing so? And so legally, there was a case to certainly be made, a very strong case that land had to be given back. I know in today's day and age, we look at that and go, yeah, but what do we do? And in this situation, and the reality is that's part of what makes Reconstruction so hard. That's part of what makes this so tragic. We would love to have seen these slaves kind of come into their own and have some firm footing to stand on. But thanks to Johnson, that does not happen. The Special Order 15 is rescinded, and all that land that had been given to African American slaves is now given back to their former owners. So I wish I could end on a brighter note, but that's the way that is, right? So thanks for watching. Catch up with me next time. Be sure that you're liking and submitting questions or comments, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks, guys.